Hello students, welcome to this video, Fractions Supernode Part 3. So we're moving on to section D, comparing fractions. Remember, comparing fractions basically is asking you, is one fraction larger than the other? Is one fraction smaller than the other? Or are the fractions equal? So if we look at example 1, we have 2/3 and 4/5. Now the problem is that they have different denominators, so it's very difficult to compare them. So what we have to do is we have to find common denominators. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite the question over here. 2/3 and 4/5. So let's look at these two denominators. We have a denominator of 3 and a denominator of 5. Now in the last video, you learned how to find the lowest common multiple. So we can do the same thing for the lowest common denominator. We can create a list of multiples of 3, we can create a list of multiples of 5, and find the number that appears, the first number that appears in both lists. Or a quick way to do it is we can simply multiply the two denominators together to get a new denominator of 15. Okay, so let's do that. So let's start with our first fraction, 2/3, and what we want to do is we want to make it into a denominator of 15. So this is the first fraction, 2/3. And then I'm going to have the second fraction over here, 4/5, and I want to make it into a denominator of 15. So let's look at these two questions separately. All right, let me change pens here. So what did I have to do to the denominator, which was originally 3, to make it a denominator of 15? Well, I multiplied by 5. Now you know by now that the general rule for fractions is what we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. So the numerator, 2 times 5, the new numerator will be 10. Now these two fractions are equivalent. 2/3 equals 10 over 15. We haven't changed the fraction, we've just changed how the fraction looks. So that's our new fraction. So let's go over to fraction 2, 4/5. So let's look at our denominators. What did we have to do to the original denominator, which was 5, to make it into 15? Well, we had to multiply it by 3. So what we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. So again, show your work. If you show your work, you're never going to go wrong. So the new numerator is 4 times 3, which is 12. Okay, so let's look at these two rewritten fractions. We have 10 over 15, and we have 12 over 15. And I'm going to draw this box in the middle here. So now that the denominators are the same, all we have to do now is look at the numerators. We have a numerator of 10 and we have a numerator of 12. Well, which one is bigger? 12 is bigger. Which one is smaller? 10 is smaller. So the sign that we would put in here is a less than sign. So let's go back to our original question and let's fill this in. Less than. Okay, I hope that made some sense, but we're going to have a couple more examples to practice. All right, so example 2, we have 4 over 7 and 3 over 14. So let's rewrite our fractions here. 4 over 7 and 3 over 14. Now in example 1, what we did was to find the lowest common multiple, we just multiplied the two denominators together. Well, we could do this right here. However, hopefully you notice that 7 and 14 are related in that 14 is a multiple of 7. 7 times 2 is 14. So why don't we use 14 as the new denominator? Okay, so let's have a look at fraction 1. Fraction 1, we have 4 over 17, and then I want to use the new denominator of 14. So let's show our work. What did we have to do to 7, the original denominator, to get to 14? We had to multiply by 2. So let's do the same for the numerator. 4 times 2 is 8. Now the second fraction, we don't have to change because we're going to keep the denominator at 14. So let's compare these two rewritten fractions. We have 8 over 14, which was our first fraction, and we have 3 over 14, which is our second fraction. So now that the denominators are the same, let's compare the numerators. Well, 8 is a much larger numerator than 3. 3 is a much smaller numerator than 8. So we use the greater than sign. So we go back to our original question, greater than. So I always want you to be thinking about the relationships between denominators because then it would save us a lot of work. Now, we could have multiplied these denominators together, but it would have created a few more steps. All right, let's go on to example 3. 1/3 over 5/8. Well, unfortunately, the denominators are not the same. So let's rewrite these two fractions. Now, these two denominators, they're not really related. In fact, 8 is not divisible by 3. 3 does not go into 8. So we have to use our first method of multiplying the two denominators together. Well, if we multiply 3 times 8, we get a denominator of 24. So this is our new denominator. So let's rewrite our fractions. So our first fraction is 1/3, and we want to make it into a denominator of 24. Our second fraction is 5 over 8, and we want to make it into the new denominator of 24. Okay, so let's show our work. Let's look at these two fractions totally separately. So what did we have to do to the original denominator to make it into 24? Well, we had to multiply it by 8. So what we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. So our new numerator is going to be 1 times 8 equals 8. So that's our new fraction. It's equivalent to 1/3. Let's go on to our second fraction. 5/8 equals what over 24? Well, let's look at our denominators. What did we have to do to 8 to make it into 24? We multiplied by 3. So what we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. Our new numerator is going to be 5 times 3, which is 15. All right, let's rewrite these new fractions. We get 8 over 24, and let's draw the box here. And then our new fraction on this side is 15 over 24. Now the denominators are the same, so now all we have to do is compare the numerators. Well, 15 is a much larger numerator than 8. 8 is a much smaller numerator than 15. So we have to use the less than sign. Okay, so this concludes Fraction Supernote Part 3. Thanks for watching. Bye.